Welcome to EdScoop TV. I'm Wyatt Cash, and I'm here with Doug Casey, Executive Director of Connecticut State Commission for Education Technology. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Wyatt.
We're here at the State Education Technology Directors Association Leadership Summit, and I'm here to talk to Doug today a little bit about some of the things that you're working on, and in particular, one area that I know that you're very involved in is broadband and infrastructure. Tell us a little about maybe one or two takeaways from this year's summit on that topic.
Sure. Well, as a little bit of background, Connecticut launched, the Commission launched our first broadband network within our state, and it's the first network to connect every district in the state. So we're proud of that. It's a point of pride. We're really trying to look at aligning what we're doing with what other leaders in the country are doing. I think there's a common dialogue around equity, which is a really key area for us to delve into.
Great. Well, also one of the other areas that I'd like to explore is just some of the bigger initiatives that the state of Connecticut is taking that other technology directors might be interested to know about.
Sure. Well, a couple that I can share with you. The first is this issue of equity. We're really trying to put together a toolkit and share out with districts on how to support their parents and families to get kids online outside of school. And I use outside of school intentionally because I tend to think about kids perhaps having multiple places where they're going outside of school. It could be work, it could be with mom one day and dad another day and grandparents. So we need to be thinking about the context of getting kids online. So not just wired lines, but perhaps mobile lines as well. And so those are some of the considerations that we've got to take into account as we train families to get up to speed as to what are the different options that are out there, and also how to navigate some of the funding structures to help them get online. So we're really working hard on that. And we're also really concentrating on personalized learning in Connecticut, and that's an area that we're really delving into.
Looking more specifically at technology, what new technology measures in your state are you taking to really help close that digital equity gap?
Sure. Well, there are some high-level initiatives that we're working on that are probably common among many states. As I mentioned, developing a toolkit, letting folks know what the options are. One that we're particularly interested in is a technology called EduRoam. The advantage of working on a commission that oversees technology for K through 12 higher education and libraries is you learn about different areas of technology in different sectors, and we learned about EduRoam through the higher education community. It is not to get too techy, but it's a radius server type of technology that allows people to log on to wireless networks wherever they are in the world, as long as they're part of this network. So for example, if somebody at the University of Hartford could log on to a network at the University of Antwerp with their same credentials. So we're taking this and looking at how can communities use this. One good example of this would be Wesleyan University partnering up with Middletown libraries and Middletown public schools so that kids in Middletown public schools could go onto Wesleyan's campus, into the library, and they've got one set of credentials and they can get online wherever they are. That's the kind of model that we see as being really promising. It's community-based, but potentially global in scale.
Sounds very exciting.
Yeah.
Also, in the realm of innovative measures, I know you mentioned data privacy for students. Tell us a little about what Connecticut's doing on that front. I understand you've got kind of a new initiative in the works.
It is. Connecticut just passed its first Student Data Privacy Act, and it is very well intentioned. The idea was to make sure that student data, and we have a lot of it, is protected and that only the eyes that need to see it have access to it. I think some of the challenges that we're facing is what I call operationalizing it. How do you go through and assess within your district the dozens, sometimes hundreds or even thousands of apps and applications that folks are using to collect and make good use of student data, and then make sure each one of those providers is compliant with how they store, how they share, how they eventually destroy data. And so it's a lot of work that districts have to work on. So one of the things that we're doing that seemed to make sense for us would be to start to execute contracts on behalf of our districts at the state level. So some of the big student information systems and other data systems that many districts are using and that hold a lot of sensitive student data are brokered at the state level. So it's one less thing that they have to worry about.
Great. And lastly, the topic of E-rate funding, the ability just to fund technology and broadband continues to be, we're getting a lot of more momentum on it, but it's still a lot of work to just make sure budgets are in line with these technology investments. What's happening in Connecticut as you try to get funding for the various initiatives you're working on?
Sure, sure. Well, we were very privileged to have the state cover all costs for our network for schools and libraries for quite some time. Last year, there was some deep digging in terms of making a budget that was right-sized, and so as a result of that, we had some reductions in funding to the network and had to turn around and bill districts for circuits that they were getting for free for years. The upside of that is that we were better able to use E-rate, leverage E-rate at the district level. And eventually, we're looking at different models that, again, getting back to being here at CETA, that other states are following. For example, how can we balance off the remainder of what's not covered by E-rate by perhaps some kind of state funding. So we're looking at creative solutions, and I'm learning a lot from my colleagues about how we can make sure that not only are we looking at landlines, but eventually that every student's got access to the learning materials that they need wherever they are, whenever they need them.
Well, terrific. Well, Doug Casey, sounds like a lot of exciting things going on in Connecticut.
It is.
Thanks for sharing some of them with us today.
Thanks, Wyatt.
I'm Wyatt Cash. You can see more of our coverage at edscoop.com. Thanks for being with us.